Hey. Hi guys, welcome back to Queen's Roots. I am your spiritual and metaphysical teacher, Queen Mother, and here on my channel I guide you along your spiritual journey to help you reconnect with who you really are, to help you understand your life's purpose as a spiritualist, and how to incorporate the metaphysical tools to manifest the life that you desire to co-create and live. Now, so in today's video I want to address those of you who are looking to start your spiritual journey or work with magic, your magical journey, but you're unable to do that because of your living conditions or because of your family's criticism and you're in their living spaces. So for all of you guys who are in a position where you are unable to actively practice your spiritual beliefs or do any magic without the criticism of those that are from your family members or your roommates or whatever you decide, without making anyone else feel uncomfortable, this video is for you. This topic, I was uncertain on how I wanted to address this, so I know I don't want to step on anyone's toes in the process, but I remember where there was a time where I was shunned and shamed for my beliefs and kind of taught that I couldn't believe in those things and things were taken from me. I've dealt with friends who were starting their spiritual journeys and who also ran into the same problems of their relatives taking things from them or making them feel less than or evil because their religious beliefs or their cultural beliefs didn't match to what their family was accustomed to. So it is all your choice on what you decide to do, and I do want to put this disclaimer out. If you are not in a position where you are an underage, under 18, or you're not able to support yourself financially and you are in someone else's home, you do have to be mindful and respectful of that person's space and environment and kind of be a little bit patient with yourself. As soon as you get into your space, you're able to practice what you believe and do some of the things that you desire to do. Now, so the first step that I have to kind of help you along that process would be if you are looking to do meditations, or if you're looking to do any spell work, or if you want to work with your ancestors or call on any deities and you can't necessarily have an altar in your house, or you can't necessarily set up like statues or do any of these things that people think, to me, I still think people think like meditation is still evil, is go out in nature. Believe it or not, nature is the most purest, aside from us humans jacking it up. But go out in nature, go somewhere where you are safe, in a nice grassy park, in a nice take a hike along a trail, sit in a wooded area that you're going to be safe. Don't go out into the woods by yourself. As much as I fantasize about being in the woods, I'm absolutely petrified about being in the woods. So don't go into the woods by yourself, but go somewhere where you can reconnect with nature. Allow your feet to touch the grass, meditate outside, in a place where you feel comfortable. If you want to set up, like, you may not be able to burn candles, but you can also take a picnic basket and talk with your ancestors out in the open. You can talk with the spirits, you can honor them and worship them outside. Make sure it's a place where you feel comfortable. You will probably have eyes on you, so you're gonna have to be okay with the people watching you. But if you have a place like maybe in your backyard, you can do it. There's a YouTuber who does tarot card readings, pick a card readings, and I really think that she's not allowed to do it because she's like always outside recording during her pick a card readings. But there have been a few times like when her parents come and she's like, oh my god, my dad's here, I gotta go, and then like the camera will cut off and then she'll come back later and she'll be like, okay, sorry you guys, my parents was here. So if you can do it in your backyard or something, try to find a way to go out in nature and do it. If you are under the age of 18 and you cannot do this, then some of these rules may help you. Some of them you may just have to wait until you are older to do. Okay, now the second thing I have is a good way to do it is keep your items in a box. Now, in one of my other videos, I talked to you about me having like my family in and out of my house, and I didn't feel comfortable having my stuff on display. People reading through my books and kind of seeing like the different stuff that I was working with. So I kept my stuff in my room, and I kept a small little altar, and I would keep everything else in a box. So I had these cute little boxes that I picked up from like Michael's or Hobby Lobby, and I would have like boxes for my tarot cards, boxes for my crystals, boxes for my smudge, and I would keep the boxes like close to my book stand, so that way I can go back and just work with my book stand and take the things out as I need it, and then place them on my altar and burn my candles. So that way when people were coming in and out of my house or in my room, it didn't seem like they couldn't see everything that I was doing. So if you can find a way, you can definitely set up an altar inside a box. You can get like a nice pretty big box, set your glass in there, get a white cloth, small candle. Now I would not burn a candle in the box, but you can put like a flower in there and put some of your ancestor pictures in there. And then when you want to, you can set the box up and just sit down and talk with the box. You know, use the box as your altar, talk with your ancestors, acknowledge your ancestors. You can do the same thing with an intentional altar. You can set up your crystals, your tarot cards, or you know, your cauldron, or whatever you choose, and just keep your things in that box. And then when you need them, if you have the space to do so, pull them out and then do what you have to do. Like I did, I pulled them out, and then when I was done, I put them all back up. So you may want to look into finding a box that is similar like that. You definitely can get one that you can keep and then just set up your ancestor box there and then just put it underneath your bed. Now my sister was good for this one. She used to set up a full-fledged altar on the floor by the top of her bed on the opposite side. So you know, like when my mom would come in the room, she wouldn't really go on the other side of the bed. It was usually like, here's the door, she came in the door, all of this she could see, but she didn't see the altar at the top of the bed. So my sister would kind of keep her altar with her who's on her altar? I don't know who's on her altar, but she would keep her altar separate. She wouldn't burn a candle. She would have a candle there, and I don't know if she would burn it from time to time, but she would have like on a nice wood plank, a small wood plank, and she would have her statues there. She would have her candles lit, and that was her sacred space. That was her altar. It was by the top of her bed. No one was allowed on that side of the bed. Of course, if my mom went in there, she did find it. You know, she was a little more disregarding because my sister is Cuban, half Cuban, and her dad is Santeria. He practices the Santeria, whereas for me, I was raised straight Christian, so I didn't have an opposing parent to say, no, this is how I want my child to spiritually be raised. So I only had my mom's on me, whereas my sister, she kind of left some of that stuff alone, because she just didn't want to cross my stepdad, and my stepdad eventually is, you know, incorporating me now into everything. So all right, you guys, so I'm back. All right, so the next step I have to help you, if you aren't able to fully be open about your spirituality or the things that you are learning or doing, I learned this trick from my mom. My mom used to read a lot of controversial books, and I would go to her bookshelf and I would see like all these books that would have like newspaper all over them, and I'd be like, what is this? And of course it makes you more intrigued, but whenever you're reading a book, cover it with white paper or newspaper, so that way people don't see the cover or the title of the book. I'm gonna take this off because this was just one of the books. I went to the hair salon and I wanted to be able to read my book in the salon without, you know, people looking at me or questions, but I was reading the book of Marie Laveau. So covering the papers with newspaper or books, it's very mysterious. Or if you can't find a book that's the same size, use that jacket cover for the new book, the book you're actually reading. I know it's crazy, but my mom, I used to ask her, like, why did you do this? And it would be, when I would read the books, it would be very simple books. Like one of the books was The Law of Attraction. She kept a newspaper with that book, and that's what intrigued me to want to read it, because I was like, what is this book? Like, oh my god, it's such a secret. She don't want anybody to know what she's reading, and I was like, well, it must be something like I must know. It must be something informative. So I'll go and read the book and sneak and read the book, and then finally I was like, can I just read this book? I got tired of sneaking it. But that's the easy way to read your books in public without people bothering you, or at home. If you have parents or something that's bothering you, if you can take the jacket off, but if you have like a paper book, then put the thing on it. If you can take the jack off of it, take the jack off of it. And if somebody asks you, just be like, I was reading a book about apples, you know. I had a lady, I was reading a book on, I think it was Arisha's Soul Journey or something like that, in a hair salon. And I couldn't really read my book because my stylist was reading my book as she was doing my hair. And then she kept asking me all these questions. And I'm like, girl, I'm just trying to read my book. Like, I don't get a lot of time to read because I work so much, you know. I'm like, can you just let me read my book? But I did take the opportunity to kind of teach her and kind of help her answer some of her questions. But yes, that's a good way to cover your books. All right, so the next tip that I can have to kind of help you with being and embracing who you are without the criticism of everyone else would be to, if you cannot smudge, then you can burn the sanctuary candle that I produce. So go ahead to spiritsandsouls.com. there I have two cleansing candles for you. One is a really heavy cleansing candle that is known, it's called Clear the Air. It's known to like break curses, remove negative energy, heavy energy. It is a really strong cleansing candle. And then I have my daily cleansing candle, which is called the Sanctuary. It's a Sanctuary, and it's a chamomile and sage scented candle, and it has chamomile and sage herbs in it. So that is a really good candle to use if you cannot smudge your home. Another good tip is you can find some kind of energy cleansing spray. Like I have this, and I've had this for a couple of years because I got this from one of my friends, Apothecary, her little shop. But just get you some energy balancing aroma spray. Spray your room, spray your place. Your family won't think anything about it. They'll be like, oh my god, especially if it smells really good. This one smells really good, like mangoes. I'm gonna go spray my car. But I use this like when I can't smudge, and like when me and my sister will buy a new car, or when we get new things, so we can't really smudge it, so we'll just spray it in the car and stuff like that. This is a really good cleansing spray. So if you can find anything that cleanses the space without the smudge smell, then you can do so. If you can buy a candle from me, you know, that is really good. The candle already comes blessed and ready for it to cleanse. You know, it's a light cleanse, it's a very sweet aromatic smell, so people will be attracted to it. All you have to do is, if you want to take the label off of it, you can, but just tell your family, hey, it's a nice candle, I just like the way it smells. It's a sweet smelling candle. You know, you don't have to really tell them what it's cleansing, you know. But I had a friend who went through that. She wanted to, I think it's funny that hopefully she never sees this video because I just think it's funny, but she wanted to like smudge her house, and she's lived with her parents, and her mom was a very heavy Christian woman, and she couldn't sage her house, and she would go and try to sage the house, and her mom would be like, oh, what's that smell? It smells like weed, because you know sage is a very strong scented herb. But she would get called, you know, evil and wrong for having a sage. Even if she was just smudging her room, she was told she was wrong for doing so. But I thought it was funny because when she got her daughter and she became pregnant, her mom named her daughter Sage, and I was like, and I told her this, I was like, isn't that so funny that you couldn't sage your house but your mom named her Sage? And she was like, that is so funny, right? So if you're in a space where you cannot physically cleanse your environment, find smaller alternatives like a cleansing spray, a cleansing candle, something that you can light without having to draw too much attention to what it is that you are doing. Okay, now the next tip that I have to kind of help you with processing your spiritual lifestyle would be, if you have options, like if you're in a room and you have some crystals you can put in your windowsill, put them in your windowsill. If you can charge your things in the windowsill, if you have access to a backyard, find a nice space in the backyard where your parents or roommates or whoever are not going to touch that area, and make that your little sacred area. Get like a nice little wood plank, or go to Hobby Lobby, get a piece of wood, or go out in nature and find a piece of wood. Put your crystals on there and leave them outside during the day, and then come back and get them you know, the next day after the full moon or after the new moon or after the sun. Come back and get your crystals. Leave your things out there so that way you can go to that sacred little space outside and come back in. So that's a good way to kind of help you cleanse your crystals and charge your crystals without bringing attention. If you have your own room but you can't necessarily bring all your rocks out the house, you know, put them in your windowsill. Keep them in your windowsill, let them charge, use them, put them back. So then that way 9 times out of 10, if your blinds are pulled down, no one's going to check your windowsill for these items. All right, so the next one that I have is, if there are people who still think meditation is evil, and I have no freaking clue why, but for those of you who have those relatives who don't want you to listen to like singing bowls, or if you are practicing African spirituality, and you're working with your ancestors and you want to call upon like any of the orishas, and you want to play their chants, or if you want to listen to any of the any of the chants, any of the singing bowls, meditation, things like that, if you cannot outplay your music aloud, try to get some headphones. As simple as that. Get some headphones, play your music in your phone, you know, be in your own little zone. Lock your door if you can. Lock your door, put your headphones on, and kind of be in your own little zone. Now, if you are a person who's in a relationship with a person who may not understand, like your partner who may not embrace your lifestyle spiritually, then I want for you to just kind of start embracing it. The biggest part that I found on me embracing my spirituality and embracing, you know, the lifestyle that I've chosen to live was my significant baby father. You know, we've met and known each other since we were 16, and for him, I hid that part from everybody. I didn't tell anybody. You know, certain people knew that I could do certain things, whereas for the most part I hid it. So when we lived together, I didn't talk about it. The books that I did buy, I would kind of take them and bury them behind other books. I hid it a lot. When we broke up and we ended up living in separate houses, or even, I'm not saying we broke up, when we were living in separate houses, I started buying more books. I started to just put them on my bookshelf. He really wasn't paying attention, or if he did, he came and looked at my bookshelf and he would just keep it moving. If he had a question, he would ask me a question. But it got to a point at where he was just like, you know, Queen, I was giving him a reading, and I think I needed to do something. He was just like, you turn into a complete different person. I'm like, well, you know, when channeling, I can't be my normal sensitive, normal, mothering-ish, you know, empathetic. I can't be that, you know, let me walk you through every step, or let me explain everything to you. Sometimes when spirit is talking to you, you don't have time to be explaining every little nuance to you. Like, I have to give these messages to you. They're coming in. I have to come and give them to you. So for him, you know, I realized although I had years of learning this information, years of understanding it, I wanted my family, and when I say my family, I really mean like my children and their dad, and it's pretty much like our family for right now, to kind of embrace it. So whereas my children saw some stuff, my significant father did not. Whereas he saw a little bit. Like, I have this New Year's Eve ritual that we do. I do this New Year's Eve ritual, and I would just tell him, listen, come do this ritual with me. I would have to explain a lot to him, but when he started seeing that from the ritual he would get the results that he wanted from the ritual, he began to become more comfortable with it, and more in like, okay, you know, this works. I can see kind of what she's doing. I can understand a little bit. So for that, you know, if you're in a position where you're not living in someone else's home, but you're just sharing a home, like you're in a relationship and you're afraid to, my message is going to be to you, if you cannot embrace who you really are with this person, it may be time for you to leave. If you cannot express and be comfortable in your own home, if you pay the bills and you got a man or a woman that's living up with you who might not agree with what you got going on, it's time to leave. It's really time to leave, because you need to be in a space where you can fully be honest and vulnerable with yourself, because the spiritual journey and the magical part of it is it's a lot of vulnerability. It's a lot of learning, and you can't deal with criticism or people tearing you down every way, a little step that you're doing. You may get comfortable with finally leaving your books on the bookshelf, and you don't want anyone questioning you and tearing you down about it. That's why I kept my stuff in my room, because my family, when I denounced that I was no longer a Christian, you know, they just kind of went in this whole uproar about, you don't love God, you don't believe in God, you don't do this. I don't know why we do all that stuff, but you know, it's just a matter of be who you are, embrace what you can if you are in your environment. If you are under the age of 18, or you're not in a place where you can financially support yourself as of yet, then you may need to just kind of wait until you can get into your space. And this goes for people who are like moving, people who have to, you know, get roommates, and maybe their roommate may be Muslim, and they're I have a friend who's Muslim, and you guys, it's so funny, she always tells me, she's like, I'm gonna go to somebody and put some voodoo on you so you don't get a husband, because she just wants to be her friend. And all I could think to my head was, I haven't exposed that part of me to her, so I'm just like, it's just so funny. But she says it jokingly, because she's like, you know, you're my friend, I don't want anybody else to, You know, she had a friend who she grew really close to who ended up getting married, and she could no longer be her friend because she got married. She was another Muslim woman, she couldn't be her friend because she got married. So that's her whole process, is I don't want my friend to get a husband because I don't want her to leave me and not be my friend anymore. So if you can embrace it, you know. Other than that, I hope these tips can help you find a way to kind of be comfortable in your environment. I hope it help you find a way to kind of get around some of the things, and so you can build up a stronger perspective where you can just tell people to like mind their own business, or to, you know, to leave you alone about it. But hopefully these tips worked. Get creative, think outside of the box. I don't want you to feel like you're having to hide. It's just sometimes when you're in other people's spaces, you have to just respect their space. Now, I had to have this discussion with my grandmother because my grandmother does not necessarily agree with my lifestyle, my spiritual beliefs. And I even had to tell her, like, listen, you know, I know right now, like, you may not come and visit my home, but if you come to my home, I don't need you to be like making me feel uncomfortable, or I don't want you to feel uncomfortable when you come to my space, but I do need you to acknowledge that this is who I am and this is what I do. And she says, you know what, I know just how to go to my room and close my door and read my Bible. So I'm like, okay, well, you know, if you can do things like that and find a way to kind of separate yourself from other people while you're acknowledging yourself on your journey, then do so. It is your spiritual journey, it is your practice, and once you get up from underneath the umbrella of spouses or parents who are interferingly trying to make you do something that they want to do out of fear, then you'll get in a space where you're more confident and comfortable to do it. Well, I think it really took for me to move away from my home to be more vocal, and to be more vocal about this and do it on this platform, because just being, I don't think I would have been able to fully learn and immerse myself in my culture and what I needed to do being at home with so many people, like sneaking my children to church, praying for you on the phone, you know, just this bullshit. I had to deal with a lot, and I just think it was just easy. So if you can separate yourself from those people while you're going through this period of time, I recommend that as well. All right, you guys, so that's enough for this video. If you found this helpful, I would love to see your comments down below, you guys. I will be there. YouTube has to get better with notifying me, because sometimes, like, I won't see a comment like a day later, but I'm trying to make sure I check consistently because I want to see your comments. I want to see if this is helpful for you. If you have any other questions or you want to know more about something in particular, comment down below and I'll be sure to make sure I get back with you. If not, I'll create another video for you, boo, just especially for you. All right, so in love and light, that is all for today's video. I hope you have a blessed and prosperous week. You guys, you know I believe in you. So if this is your situation, just trust that it is going to improve, and you're going to be in a position where you can openly celebrate your spirituality, celebrate your magicness. You can be the boss that you need to be, the magical boss that I know you're going to be. You can do it without any other criticism, and you're going to get there. So give yourself some time and patience. In the meantime, hopefully these tips help you out. All right, in love and light, you guys.